Story 1. Inside is comfortable. The toilet is nice and clean with plenty of toilet paper. You have everything you need. All your belongings are there. There are drinks and food that you don't have to spend lots of money on. You don't have to queue for anything. You don't have to be polite or friendly to people. There's no crowds or loud noise. You're guaranteed a seat. You can sit around in your pajamas and slippers. You don't have to wear a bra. Most of these things become more important as you get older, and you appreciate more the value of a quiet night or day in. Story 2. When I was younger, I lived at home with my parents and later with roommates. Once I actually got my own place, the desire to go out fell off dramatically. Story 3. Narcissism skyrocketed in the last decade, and people are not the same anymore. I am in my 30s, and I can't stand even older people. Everyone is on a screen, and all this desire for showing off and validation makes me sick. You can see that every 2 minutes when you are outside. There is nothing like the peace of mind that you can get when you are alone with yourself. Story 4. Outside got so much more expensive after COVID. I have to pay the increased prices for groceries. I don't have to pay the increased prices for restaurants and bars. I can stay home. Story 5. COVID broke me. There, I said it. I didn't love going out before it, but I still did with minimal anxiety. After COVID, lockdowns, and a bunch of losses unrelated to COVID but made worse because of it, I'm just a broken man. I hate leaving the house. People are insane, prices are terrible, and people are incredibly scary. Story 6. Owning a house. My own home is a place of peace and quiet. No troublesome relatives or parents to make you want to leave the house to get that quiet. Also, everything I buy is there. When I go out, everything I buy is not there. Story 7. All different types of people. Angry men, bad drivers, unhoused people, slow-walking people, careless bike riders, sidewalk-hogging strollers, bored teenagers. Story 8. My 80-something-year-old neighbor said she doesn't drink anymore because she can't afford to fall down anymore. I'll bet that's the same reason she doesn't rock climb. Story 9. Recent example. I was at a conference in another city, and it ended at 6 p.m. I booked the first flight home, another story, and couldn't wait to get home. I just missed my wife, our puppy, and our bed. I have lower tolerance for nonsense and pretense, and I just enjoy being in my space. Story 10. Dealing with people. I went to the mall for the first time in 5 years because I needed a last-minute nice shirt, and dealing with the checkout is just dumb now. Apparently, you have to wait to be called to the counter, which was never the case before. So, I walked up as soon as I saw an open register and got a response of, "Oh, I don't remember calling you." Well, you're here now. Proceeds to check me out and then spend 10 minutes going through all those stupid in-store cash savings. A massive script of stuff I don't care about. What should have been a 2-minute exchange was 10 to 15 minutes, and I was running late for an event. Story 11. I am in my 60s, and prior to the lockdown during the pandemic, my husband and I were constantly on the go. The lockdown showed us that we prefer a quiet life at home. Story 12. People, society, and the lack of respect people have, and the respect they demand at the same time. I just had this happen. I held a door open for the couple following me, and they didn't say thank you. At the second set of doors, I just walked in and didn't hold it. Then they proceeded to say how it was rude that I didn't hold it. Story 13. Being grumpy. Things that I see as dumb might have been funny when I was younger. But just like how your 3-year-old laughs at a cartoon joke that you don't find funny in your 20s, the same holds true for some things that folks find funny in their 30s. People get jaded with time. Whether you've been burned by people before or just don't want to stand too close to a train wreck, you learn to avoid trouble, and people can be trouble. Being outside without people is great, though. I've got a nice swing in the yard and sit in it often. The dog is curled up right next to it, but I haven't actually sprayed anyone for getting on my lawn. Holding out hope that I get to one day is a dream of mine. Story 14. You go out when you're young to find a mate. By the time you're older, you've either got one or have given up putting the same amount of effort into finding one. Story 15. 1. Rising costs of pretty much everything. 2. The current political climate has made me very wary of people. 3. I work out a lot. After I am done, I pretty much just want to eat and go to sleep. And since I have a home gym, I do not really have a reason to go out. Story 16. It can be a positive or negative reason. Some older people are satisfied and happy with their life, hobbies, or interests and do not need much from the outside world. So they naturally become homebodies. I am in my late 40s and am becoming that way. Other older people are unhappy, and interacting with people makes them more so, and therefore they avoid other people. Story 17. What seemed to be a long, cold winter has finally finished. Now the grass is dying off, and the flowers are blooming. I can't go outside because of hay fever. Story 18. I have been scrolling this thread, and it is really sad. I understand there are many, many negative and sometimes potentially harmful elements out there, but we cannot allow ourselves to be affected so much. Speaking as a 65-year-old, I refuse just to give my quality of life away. We don't spend nights out partying, but we definitely don't hide away from society. All those stupid things they say about getting old are starting to apply to me, and it's great fun. I just point to my gray hair and plead ignorance or senility. Forget them. It's a dirty game, but I know the rules and can play it just as hard. We should keep on playing. Story 19. I just feel so good at home. I don't have to act civil or look good or pay for anything other than food and electricity. The best thing is avoiding people. Story 20. People, particularly those with no concept of personal space, and just as an added frustration, they seem to also be the same ones with 1 or 10 ill-behaved children whining. I have unresolved childhood trauma, plus Verizon spontaneously deciding I needed a wireless account. A $202 bill that also says, "We've noticed you haven't used your new wireless account." It is people. Story 21. A few years ago, a graduate student came to my city and was here for 2 hours before getting randomly shot and killed at a nearby bus stop. This was a 5-minute walk from my doorstep. Story 22. Realizing every year people get less intelligent and more deranged, I do not want to share a space with any of these people, let alone be around most of them. Story 23. One thing to understand with a lot of younger people is, of course, they are living with their parents, or even when they move out, they are living with roommates. So that's a big reason not to want to stay in the house. But once you have your own place, it's a lot easier to want to stay inside. Story 24. I have seen, experienced, and eaten a lot of things already. Very few things are new or provide a wow experience, so I am much less motivated to go out and experience them. I have seen so many shows, concerts, restaurants, and festivals, and have had so much fun. It's just a lot less rewarding to me than in the past when it was much more novel. Story 25. The internet pretty much showed me everything. I don't have to be out there to see it. Food delivery service is convenient. I never have to step into the restaurants, and finding parking is a hassle that can be avoided. Story 26. I try to get out once in a while with friends, but I am older than they are. My job wears me out. My bed is super comfortable. I have Amazon Music, and I am subscribed to some white noise channels for sleep. I just really love the sound of rain, too. It is like a scrubby brush for my brain folds. I fully plan on spending tomorrow right where I am now. Story 27. The sun is a deadly laser. No, seriously, sun exposure is the #1 cause for not just skin cancer, but also premature skin aging and all the different symptoms that come with it. Story 28. Comfort people, noise, pollution, traffic, stress. I can sit inside my quiet home and relax and do whatever I want without anyone bothering me or annoying me. Kind of makes it hard to justify going outside sometimes. Story 29. I think a small percentage of the population is ascending or has ascended to a higher plane of consciousness. We are sensitive, caring, and understanding. When we witness massive egos and apathetic bodies being selfish, angry, abusive, and evil, we want to just stay away from it. Story 30. The simple fact is, as you get older, there are fewer and fewer totally new experiences for you. As your catalog of lived experience grows larger, you can accurately guess what you will think of an experience without having to do it. You realize that your tastes are quite limited and figure it is not worth trying more random things. Story 31. My parents. We live on a farm and the whole family is here, each in their own house. We're within walking distance from each other, and I do love them. They've had serious issues over the last 4 years, and whenever I see them alone, they give me an in-depth update on how terrible their marriage is. I honestly don't care anymore. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Story 32, humans, everyone is so self-entitled nowadays. Also, the way people drive nowadays, it's really not safe to travel even a short distance. I live in a small town. I can walk to pretty much anything I need and quickly get back home. Story 33. Balance is challenging and I live on the side of a hill, so falling is a real concern. Also, the older I get, the harder it is to regulate my body temperature. Story 34. Honestly, the realization that sweatpants are now considered acceptable going out attire. Plus, the fridge is just way closer than the great outdoors. Who needs nature when you've got Netflix and snacks? Story 35. The heat of summer. But once I retired, I was outside a lot more than when I had to go to an office every day. I love fall, winter, and spring, but summer can go forget itself. Story 36. Mostly just being unable to keep up anymore. I can be out on the town for a day, but my body needs a day after to recover. That's just how it goes once you start getting older. Story 37. I work in hospitality, which means I have to deal with people for 8 hours a day, many of whom are rude or incredibly stupid. I'm also standing in one spot for those 8 hours. The last thing I want to do when I'm not at work is anything that involves me being upright or interacting with people. It's a bit sad. I miss wanting to go out with friends, but the energy is just not there anymore. Story 38. I work with the public, so seeing them in my off hours is something I don't want to do. I'm socially exhausted at the end of my day. I even grocery shop in the middle of the night. Story 39. Weather. I love winter, but I'm on a blood thinner, and the cold turns me into a popsicle. I wear sweatshirts year-round now. One of the costs of living on borrowed time. Story 40. Through a lifetime process of trying new things, I know what I like to do best and have a lot of the equipment or stuff needed to do those things in my home, and I know what is and is not worth going out for. Story 41. I will let you know when I start going inside more. Manchester 60. I did go in to hang up my Ranger and get dry clothes yesterday. Heck of a rainstorm, and the youngsters were inside or something. I had the whole park to myself. Story 42. Autism. Without help, my agoraphobia gets worse. I am supposed to have 10 hours a week of in-home care, but spend most of the year on wait lists and never get all 10 hours. I need help. Story 43. Lately, it's how frequently my kids are sick. We got sick the second week in September, me first, then my toddler and baby, then my husband. It took us 3 weeks to shake the congestion and for the baby to stop coughing. We got sick again last week. We'd only been feeling back to normal for 2 weeks after the first bout of sickness. So I have been out of the house for something other than walking the dog at night or going to the grocery or drugstore twice in the last 6 weeks. Story 44. So hard for me to get around, so I feel like a drag to everyone. In 2001, I broke my back, got surgery, and learned how to walk again. Was pretty good until about 2019. Started getting more pain more often because of arthritis in my back. Now I am back to using a cane and just can't walk too far. Story 45. Traffic. No parking. People driving and parking like idiots. Nobody has any common sense or basic decency anymore. Cannot go anywhere during tourist seasons, summer and fall. Trucks and sport utility vehicles keep getting bigger while roads and parking spaces stay the same. And all those people. Story 46. There are not that many places or events that are social but also welcoming, free or cheap, and close by. I'm not as open to inviting people or new friends over, and I hate constantly paying for food and drinks just to chill with friends. After a while, you'd rather stay home than drive somewhere every weekend, in my experience anyway. Story 47. I work 5 days a week. That is enough socializing for me. Thank baby Jesus I do not have a public-facing job, but coworkers are enough. My job pays for my air conditioning, my comfy sofa, my Netflix, my wine, my cat, my dog, and snacks. If I am not at work, I am on my sofa with all of the above. Perfection. Story 48. Well, COVID happened and I started staying away from people. Then I had to move to a different city where I don't know anyone, so I never got my social life back. And I quit drinking. Now that I don't drink, bars and parties are a lot less fun. I still go outside a lot when the weather is nice, mostly cycling, but by myself. Also, a lot of the things I used to do when I felt like I needed to socialize have changed. For example, in the past, I joined several groups on Meetup for monthly dinners, playing music together, board game meetups. But Meetup seems to be a lot less active now than it was 10 years ago, at least around here. So I'm not sure how to meet new people anymore. Not sure how much I even want to be honest. In some ways, I miss it, but dealing with people also often sucks. Story 49. The cultural reset the United Kingdom government's been pushing since the 1990s means there's nothing worth going out for now. Pubs became restaurants, clubbing got wiped off the map, and raves and large house parties are illegal. Story 50. Nobody likes me, not that I like them back laughing out loud, but at least my morals compel me to show some goodwill, which I do not receive in return most of the time. Far from it, actually. Story 51. Social credibility matters more when you are young. The more you do with people, the more you feel connected, cool, or just plain liked. Cruel. You do this at the cost of money and energy because those matter less. As you get older, you realize going out costs more than it is worth. Money becomes important. Energy and time become important. Going out until 2 a.m. will literally destroy me for days now. I used to be able to do that and sleep until noon. But life's duties require morning activities now, and being cranky and tired for those activities is even worse.